I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, the host of the Mojo Maker podcast and YouTube channel, and it is International Women's Day. We're recording a new episode, and I happen to be sitting next to the founder of Brocode, Clint Vosloo.
Vosloo, well pronounced. Thank you, Nikki, and happy International Women's Day.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I mean, I just think as well, before we kick off, for all you incredible women out there, I also want to say you incredible guys that are naturally supporting diversity with women. And I think I certainly work with, most of the people I work with, we naturally have diversity. We naturally think about equal. We naturally think about empowerment. We naturally help each other. Partners are good. So I think while it's important, you've got to be in your true authentic self. And if you're a woman out there and you're trying to carve your way out, remember, surround yourself with good men as well that are willing to have those conversations and back you up, right?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, the philosophy of who you surround yourself is so important. You know, the way I look at it is the 10 people you spend the most time with is going to reflect how you're going to be. So if you're with negative, pessimistic people who, Nikki's fortunate enough to know the crew that I hang around with, and we're like a bunch of kids, we're out having fun and really positive.
Skateboard here?
I skateboarded here, and I'm going to go play tennis or maybe kite after this. So having those sort of, for me, inspirational people and exceptional people around me just drives you and it changes your bar.
Yeah, and I think, this whole show, and of course my absolute mission is to work with leaders in life. So we don't cut corners on the show. And I did ask you to come on board. I've got the Dude Retreat coming up. We've got some fantastic people coming to that. But Brocode really, I think it's a great concept. So what I wanted to do was introduce people to the fact that whilst there's a lot of help out there and we need to support women rising to the top and also, giving courage and confidence and conviction about what we do, I really feel that there's a conversation to be had for guys. Like, what happens? What do you guys do now? Do you open doors? Do you not open doors? Do you say there's a seat at the table, but there shouldn't actually be a job there, so everyone's flustered and doesn't know what to do about it? So I think let's just bring out all those known and unspoken kind of comments and roll into what is it like to be a man in 2019, carving your way. You've got 3 kids at home, you've gone through a separation, you're in a different country than what you're born, you're a smart, intelligent consultant, and you're like, oh, my life just got turned upside down. So maybe give us a tiny little bit of an introduction as to who you are, what you do usually, and what your whole purpose of Brocode is.
Okay, so I mean, it's a long story, right? And hopefully
you'll have
Nikki,
to give me the elevator pitch.
Yeah, Nikki can link to my podcast where I explain the whole story. But Cliff Note summary. I'm a computer nerd, IT consultant. Been in that game for a long time, and probably, I guess, close on 2.5 years ago, I went through a separation from a divorce. During that journey, unfortunately for me, it was infidelity twice. The first time it happened from a mental health perspective.
So just to clarify, not your side,
no,
but I mean, people listening to this, I think it's one of those big taboo subjects. But you found out that your significant other, there was infidelity in your marriage, and then you tried to make it work, and then it happened again. You had these beautiful kids, and all of a sudden you were confronted with the reality that this just isn't going to happen anymore.
So that's the thing. So going back to the first time, I think it's quite important. I reached out to my mom at the time and I said, well, what do I do? It's the first time in my life I never know what to do. I always know what I want to do, right? But I actually, for the once, I distinctly remember pulling over on the motorway and breaking down like I don't know what to do. And I phoned my mom and I said, well, I think I need to go speak to a therapist. Like I just don't know what to do. And her retort at the time was, you don't go to speak to a shrink. Only weak people speak to shrinks, and you're not weak. So from a support structure point of view, that was the guidance I was given, right? And this is 100% on me. I pretty much lost 8 or 9 years of my life. I became a recluse. I had no friends. I just went completely
after that time,
to be honest, I never really recovered.
Yeah.
So when it came out from the second time and we just decided to separate, I remember, there's a lot of me lying on the floor crying, but I remember distinctly saying something has to change.
Yeah.
Like I cannot invest so much into someone or someone else, and this happened to me again, and that's when the reflection started for me personally.
Yeah, and just want to clarify that personal reflection.
It's personal reflection, and I think I'd spent my whole life trying to make other people happy and didn't look after myself once.
Yeah. Not
once did I actually even think about me and what I wanted to do. And it's like, everyone uses this analogy, it's the airplane mask situation where what defined me was how I looked after others. Yeah. And I was a broken, unhappy man, and that's when the journey started.
So can we just drop a little pin in that? Because I think most people that are very driven in life, we've all you're lucky enough to have backgrounds where we've been supported, and I think what happens when you start to realize that you've got the martyrdom about life, you naturally put your onus on other people. You're consistently seeing that everyone else is happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not until something major happens that we're confronted with ourselves, and that lesson keeps repeating like a record until you're willing to go, hold on a second, the stuff that was my hard drive growing up, even if it was good or bad, that's irrelevant, is maybe no longer serving you anymore. So you had to reprogram some deep beliefs, including listening to your parents, because that was a 1950s, 1960s mindset, and go, hold on a second, what is right for me right now? And I've got no idea what that world looks like.
And that's exactly right. For me, it was a complete reboot. I actually started from scratch again. And this is when not the Brocode, I guess what I call the framework for BROCODE Life, it's sort of 7 modules to recover. I started on that journey one by one from the mental health side. I got into meditation and yoga and wellness, nutrition, and all the different support structure that I didn't have. Now, for me, and we all love our mates, they say, well, go on Tinder or online dating and go get drunk. That's what your friends generally do from a guy's perspective.
Well, that's the only script they know.
I know, and we love them for that, right?
But if you're listening to this and anyone you know, you're going through stuff, and remember I promised I'd always put in these little helpful hints, because Clint and I want to make this really practical, is that maybe that's not the right answer for your mate. So please listen carefully. If you're in the car, if you're on the treadmill, if you're on the bus on the way home and you're listening to this podcast and you're in a crisis, just because certain people always say things one way doesn't mean it's the right way.
Yeah.
So
then from an infrastructure point of view, I did see an amazing therapist here on the coast, and he was brilliant and helped me through a lot of the early sort of trauma stages. But there wasn't a holistic platform for guys to recover. So the idea with BROCODE Life is create this very comprehensive course, 7 modules with 2 bonus modules I'm throwing in there as well, which is around infidelity and narcissism, which is obviously a story I can tell quite well, and create an online community for guys to go in a safe space, because humans want to belong to anything. Whether it's if you just go watch a football game, these are strangers wearing the same uniform because people want to belong. And for BROCODE Life, I want to create a community where guys can go, feel safe. It's not a place to rant about the ghost from Christmas past and she did this and she said that. It's a place to go if you're ready to heal and if you're ready to recover.
And I think that's the defining point about today's podcast, is that you can talk to anyone about what's going on and what it's like to be a guy, what it's like to be going through challenges, but you have to be willing to do the work, right? So number one is recognizing that something's not working.
You got to be ready to listen. At certain stages of the journey, and some of the modules I'm going to say, I know you're not ready for this, but I was told certain things and I didn't hear it. You go back 6 months ago, you speak to someone, they said, well, I told you that 6 months ago. So you've got to be ready to consume that information, and it's not a quick fix, right? It takes time, and the frustrating thing, if you are in trauma, everyone says, oh, it just takes time, it'll be better in time. You just want to, if you hear that one more time, it frustrates you, but the reality is it's there, and the idea of creating something that's online, lifetime access, when you're ready for your journey, you can keep going back till you're ready to actually absorb that lesson.
So you have a successful IT company, you've done really well financially, but that meant nothing when the carpet was pulled out from underneath you, right? So tell me a little bit about what your original idea of success was, and now how you're reframing that.
So, I've always been pretty focused on lifestyle. I chose to come to Australia. I went straight to the Sunshine Coast to live on the beach. And all my customers are multinationals, and none of them are on the Sunshine Coast. So for whatever reason, I've been pretty focused on, I want to live on the beach, I want to surf every single day, and that's what I want to do. And then I'll make everything work around that. So it wasn't a sort of a radical shift in terms of that, but it was just very lucky it had always been that way. In terms of what success is now, in the early days, I wanted a private jet, to be honest. That was my sign of success. Going through the first infidelity was my first flat hand. In terms of realizing that money is not important, right? Family and love is. I do think, once again, for the manifestation, I went through a bad financial patch because I blamed money for what happened. So I had a bit of a bad relationship with money for a couple of years. I lost out some big business deals. It's all part of the journey. But this time now, what I want to do with BROCODE is, I guess I've been training for it my whole life, because when I fly around the world speaking for tech, I love helping people. That's what I do. My sessions are very educational. I want to give people takeaways so they can be better at their job. And with this, if I have the ability to still keep my lifestyle, which I'm definitely going to keep, but be able to help guys in something that I'm obviously passionate about and hopefully inspire people to live a cool life, then that to me is success.
So what do you think now I mean, I've obviously got my opinion working, full time with men in leadership.
Yeah.
What do you think from your perspective in the trenches, your 3 challenges in your own life have been with this new set of glasses on?
Yeah.
Because, you've been enlightened and you've been doing the work quietly, but your mates and how do you navigate your way with, gravitating towards the guys that you don't need to explain yourself? I know we have a great crew here.
Yeah.
They're all very evolved humans.
Yep.
They've done their own work.
Yep.
So what do you recommend, or how did you deal with the guys that were just going, oh, come on, mate, just come out, just get through it?
Yeah.
How do you what would you suggest to someone who's feeling that enormous peer pressure?
So I'm a storyteller, right? There's a story of a foil. So I'm big into hydrofoiling, and I got a certain foil that I couldn't get going for 3 months. I couldn't even stand up on the board.
The old foil story.
The old foil story, yeah. And the reality of that is what I say.
I won't reveal your nickname, by the way, when I saw that.
I know this is on another foil. But the reality is, as it turned out, the foil was broken. So it was a bad foil, and it didn't work, but I didn't question it.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of myself for the persistence, but the reality is I didn't question it. So my advice to guys, if you're in that situation, question everything. Question everything, question everyone you're around with. Because if you start tuning into sort of, I guess, the universe as people call it, and that negative energy, you'll pick it up very quickly. So I, as I said, to those people you're around, I just very gracefully and slowly distance myself from those people and be around exceptional people. But as soon as you start listening to the negativity and the peer pressure, then you can get incensed, but you have to be in tune with it.
And I think it's believe patterns, not promises. And also the other thing is, please take advice from people who are walking the talk. Because addictions are not only things that we know about, but also gossip is an addiction, and guys gossip just as much as girls do.
No, we don't.
So you need to be around guys that are gonna, and I know Mark Trilson, who's definitely been on my podcast before, he's a terrific example. His best mate flew in from New York and stayed with him until he was ready to get up off the sofa, and I think like your do or die hard friends are there for you, and if you are going through something like this, you don't have to announce that someone's not on your train anymore. You have to be graceful, and you have to be able to deal with your emotions versus your feelings. So they're 2 different things, right? So our emotions come out. So when you went to a therapist, what would you say a great example of finding the right person for you was, knowing that it was debunking what you'd been taught by everything in the beginning?
So I just got lucky, right? I mean, I went to the GP because you've got a script for it here in Australia, and I said, I don't need someone that's going to model coddle me. I need like a Tony Robbins. It was I need someone who will just, if I'm stepping out of line and I'm not playing fair, I need someone to call me. Mm-hmm. And she put me in touch with a guy in Budrum, and he was just sensational. Yeah. Really, really good, and just got me, and we've become good friends since, I'd say.
And what do you think about doing the work in between the revelations? So what do you do on a daily basis to keep your commitment to being a good human? I mean, I know you went out and had a great time for a while, and that's another book in itself.
It's actually another book, yeah.
But what I love about you, Clint, is that you're showing up, and your kids are beautiful. I was around there the other day, and you've got these little humans. So I think when I observe a lot of the collateral damage around relationships breaking down, whether they're personal or business relationships, it's how you communicate with your significant other, no matter what you've been thrown at.
Yep.
So what is your tip now when shade is getting thrown and the mud has been slung everywhere, for you to stand gracefully in that and as you said, own your side of the street?
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is the information I don't think guys are ready for it, but it's 100% accountability.
Yeah.
When people are stuck in traffic, it's a bad day, or something happens, you chose to go that way. You chose to leave 5 minutes late. I mean, I was off camera, I was telling Nikki that I was unfortunately in family court this week getting smeared by a very arrogant attorney, and was feeling very sorry for myself. But as soon as I realized I chose to self-represent. I chose to contest the case. I was flying to Canberra to speak at a tech event, and I almost didn't show up, but then I went, well, you know what? I chose to speak that day. They asked me to run 1 or 2 sessions. I chose to do twice. Yeah. So as soon as you actually take 100% ownership of where you are and the position you're in, then you can sort of start fessing up and manning up, I guess, because it's all your decisions. What a man thinks, a man becomes.
Yeah, and I think actually that's a great theme for today's episode with you as Manny. Now, we spoke about this a little bit before as well, is you've got two choices in life, folks. You can stay in the story, or you can get the facts and stats and start being in the driver's seat. And that's why you're on my show, because I'm all about accountability, and I'm also all about sticking in to the milestones and having a good pit crew. Understanding that the road's going to be bumpy, but reveling in that. Like, life is not going to get any easier. It's how we deal with all those things. And then also, I would say, re-strategizing frequently. Like, what we thought was successful in our 20s. I think, so if you haven't done your personal playbook, like you're happy to do your business one, you need to sit down. And I said this at a boardroom meeting. I was like, what do you guys all want? And they're like, oh. I was like, well, how are you going to get there if you just keep getting what you're given all the time? So
money doesn't go with you, man. It's experience. Like, if you say, well, success for me is traveling around the world with my kids. Done. You know.
So you've gone through this. You're out the other side of it. It's not an overnight sensation. It's been a painful journey. And your lowest points, what do you think? I think everyone has these low points and the vulnerability. You know, I'm a big advocate for men's mental health. What is the first thing people can do when it's so black they can't see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Not drink. I think that's...
But let's just hide that.
I didn't really listen to my advice there. But no, breathe. Breathing and meditation are so important. I was... You know, once again, serendipity, I was speaking at a conference. I think I was in Vancouver, and I luckily got the keynote, and I was all over the place, and a good friend of mine came up to me afterwards and he said, I can just see you scattered. And he put me in touch with a company called it's HoloSync Centerpoint, and they do sort of audio meditation, because I'm like you, I can't sit still. It takes you to a delta state, and I've 2 years been listening to it, and I go fall asleep every night to it, and it's just... The subconscious brain and the way you can calm yourself, and that's just unbelievable. And then just learn to breathe properly. You know, if your diaphragm. So if it's Wim Hof, or I mean, even there's that box breathing where you just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for so. You just do box breathing just for 10 minutes just to calm your brain. It's key. And then exercise, man. Endorphins are your friend.
And I think that's self-nourishment, and we're going to have Jake Edwards on the show from outside the locker room, and most of the men that I think we've worked with have we've all gone through dark patches, but the revelation is the old hard drive about stiff upper lip is actually a very dangerous mentality. And so you have to be vulnerable for yourself. You have to ask help from the right people that walk the talk, and choose your therapist, choose your coaches. You need to have a chemistry, because you have to be completely honest. Just going back to the last point about the people you surround yourself with. I remember a friend of mine who I'm very fortunate to meet. I was, when I understood sort of figured out narcissism and all about, and how my parents were, and I was going off on this long rant about this and that, and how I'm trying to figure that all out, and I said to him something along the lines of, I've been conditioned this way for 43 years. It's not going to happen overnight. And he just looked me in the face and he said, BS. So I said, what do you mean? He says, you know about it now, and it's your choice. Let it go or move on. And I was like, how dare you? And then he walked off with a smile on his face. But it's having those people and having those moments and be willing to receive that information at that time is key. Just from a recovery perspective, sorry, jumping around, and this is the center of our program, the cog of it is understanding your why. Your 100%.
It is everything. For me, it's the ocean. I mean, every decision I make, every time I'm having a bad day, I go straight out there. I mean, I almost sold my tech company late last year to one of the big fours because of ego. I was like,
your ego is not your amigo.
No, I was sitting out, I was surfing out at Kudam, and I was like, why am I actually doing this? Like, I live the best life. My kids are soon going to be driving. I'm going to give away 2 years of my life to fly around the world for money that I don't really need. Well, why am I doing this? And it's those moments for my why, which is in the ocean, where I just get calm and clarity. So that's, if whatever your passion is, it's the center of my program. There's a whole module on it. Just to find that, because the challenge comes in when you suddenly go from, for me, a very busy house to being alone for a week. And those are the tough days. That's when the rubber hits the road.
And I think also, we'll touch on that, I think, in the next episode that we do together. We'll talk about single guy parenting, you know, like the logistics of being a 21st century dude with 3 kids and going it alone. And so I really think it's an important episode, and I certainly am very, very no excuses with my clients, but you have to sit here and listen to this, guys. You're either going to be a person that life does stuff to, like victim, or you decide one moment that you're going to do things with life. So no matter what comes your way, no matter what media shower, it's really not anyone's fault, because they're just doing their best.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest message is letting go. If you want to hang on to blame, if you want to hang on to what happened, it's an enormous amount of energy that's not propelling you forward. And what you've done is you've propelled yourself forward. You've got this beautiful change in vibration since I've known you. I remember, you know, in the last couple of years, I've seen it. So I take my hat off, and I think that the rewards that are coming are because of the work you've put in.
Yeah.
I know that you'll be an inspiration to listeners wherever you are in the world. And New York, you gave me some really cool messages. So actually, for a lot of you guys that are dealing with some of the stuff with the stock exchange, and a few of you have been talking about like overwhelm at the moment, this is a great example. Just take some time out. If you keep on this churn and you're not sitting down and going, what's my personal game plan?
Yeah.
You're just going to keep going till there isn't any more space to go to. So shared advice here. BROCODE Life will be live shortly. There's a beta version of the website coming up. I'll put all the links on the show, the Mojo Maker. And remember, guys, we really appreciate your reviews, your comments, and your questions. I want to design my show around you this year. I'm here to declutter you, to take you from chaos to calm. That is my 100% mission. No fluff. No fussiness, because we like to get straight to the point.
Yes,
and we're going to have more people like Clint. So Clint, 3 takeaways, short and sharp, for everyone listening today. Thank you for not wearing a graphic t-shirt that was like, rah! So
thank you for wearing a shirt for once.
Yeah. So 3 things. What do we want to give our listeners and viewers today? 3 cool, really important. If you're in a dark place, there's nowhere to go, and not even just about the program, just about being the best version of life.
Find your why.
Find your why.
Find your why. Breathe. Meditate.
Yeah. So find your why, guys. If you don't know it, you know, get in contact. There's so much resource between myself and Clint as well. If you want to come on the Dude Retreat, it will be mid-year, just after, it'll be the first week of July. You'll meet Clint. There's going to be a guest speaker as well. And if you are finding it difficult to navigate your way and know who to talk to because all your mates are just telling you the old stuff, please reach out. I mean, we really mean that. We will take as much time as we can. And ultimately, you're in the driver's seat of life, so you've got to decide what you're going to do with that. There is always a solution, and that's the most important thing I want to tell you. So, Clint, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. And thanks for the compliments about my kids and the vibration. And I literally bounce out of bed. I'm so excited just to be given the gift to try and help people, man. It's the most humbling thing that's happened to me. So really excited. Well, welcome to the tribe. And also, I can't help it if I beat you in tennis. Nah. So guys, you can hear more about the Mojo Maker podcast, new website coming up, also iTunes. It's now on Spotify, which is really exciting. We're almost up to 100 episodes, a new series coming out in line with book number 3, Clint Vosloo. It's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for being awesome. And to all of our tribe who are in this little complex here that we all live next to the ocean, thanks for just being the best humans on the planet. Until next time, you stay healthy, wealthy and wise, and we look forward to having you back on our next episode on the Mojo Maker.